Hey guys, Cream Crazy here. Welcome to the first in the news bulletin in quite some time. I think the last one of these I did was in February, March, I think. But I thought, you know what? The audio medium is a fantastic way of bringing these back. I mean, in all fairness, what do you want to see? Me waffling about nothing, or me waffling about the wrestling news that's happened in the past week? Well, it's up to you what you want from me, but I think you guys want to hear me talk about a lot of things, and honestly, with the sparse amount of videos I do, it's good to know that I'm collecting loads of stories and talking all about them. Anyway, let's go on with this. I've got 14 news stories to get through. Not my biggest haul ever, but fuck it, it happens. Let's get on with this. Obviously, CM Punk punching a fan at Raw has garnered the most headlines this week. In fact, I've nominated it for an In the News Story of the Year award just because it's that big. WWE issued a statement, Punk apologised, a fan who hit Punk made a tit of himself on Twitter, and the fan who was hit decided not to press charges. That seems to be the end of it, right? Well, you know what? We were wrong! We're like big fat failure titles. Wrong! Anyway, the fan in question, Chris Schmidt, is considering to hire an attorney to file a lawsuit against WWE for what happened. Also, a fan of the event sent in an eyewitness account to NoDQ.com, stating, CM Punk decked the guy pretty much in front of me. It was not staged, it was real. The dude slapped CM Punk right in the back. Now, if this is obviously annoying me. Not the fan statement, I mean just the general thing. Just the general notion that he hasn't filed charges, he hasn't decided to take it any further through the judicial courts, through the court process of law as it stands. But the fact that this guy is going to find a lawsuit for it? I mean, come on. He felt the wrist tape of Punk go against his face. He has wobbly knees. I'll tell you one thing. I have wobbly knees. I have a hard time regaining my balance. It happens to people from time to time, especially if you're in such shit fitness as I am, where my legs hardly move when I bend them in any direction. So you see my point here. This lawsuit that's going to be slapped on Punk and WWE at this rate is complete shit. I'm saying that from a personal point of view because why would you not want to press criminal charges when a lawsuit? Oh yeah, I just ended up banging myself on the head there. This means extra monies. No, money. No, just don't go there. Just don't even think about it. Because remember the last time Vince McMahon was involved in lawsuits or any form of court activity? He won and he beat them. So listen. This guy, he was very honest and said, okay, I'm not going to press charges. But he makes himself a complete money-grabbing douchebag when he ends up having to try and get money from the biggest wrestling company in the world because of an incident which technically wasn't even planned to happen. And I said it on my blog, I'll say it again, this should be a lesson to every single person who even dares to try and touch a wrestler during the show. Do not even bother unless you're going for a high five at barricade level because they will not care. Simple as. CM Punk isn't the only WWE wrestler who has gotten under the skin of fans lately, as Alberto Del Rio ripped up a sign belonging to an 8-year-old fan doing the usual 8 heels shtick, because usually you can get your sign ripped up. Hell, Noam Dar ripped up the Book Havoc is a Work sign held up at Progress Chapter 2. Which was perfectly fine because we laughed our asses off at it. The kid in question burst out crying, and his mother, who turned out to be former Shark Tank winner Shirley Eller, I believe that is a reality show in America, I don't actually know this shit, so please inform me if I get anything wrong here tonight. And, yeah, she was horrified and accused Del Rio of bullying her son. She sent an angry letter to WWE. They then responded that Del Rio and Rodriguez were playing their bad guy characters and apologised for any harm caused. Sheamus even offered them meet and greets with the World Heavyweight Champion and tickets to local area shows as a face peace offering. Again, this should be the end of it. But, once again, we were wrong! TNA got a whiff of this. and decided to reach out to the mother by offering her and her son exclusive meet and greets with TNA wrestlers as well as tickets to their shows, saying in a statement that TNA performers would never act that way in front of their fans and will allow them to meet the TNA stars and Hulk Hogan on behalf of the company. Oh my god. Oh shit, how stupid is this story? I mean, for fuck's sake, it is just a fucking heel character. It's part of the show. If you were like me, you would laugh at it and go, whoa, and just get into the heel stick and not get fucking taking it literally. Because I'm a person who takes things literally. But I know in a case like this, you don't take it literally because then shit happens. Okay? And TNA, what does this say? That you won't allow your performers to be natural bad guys? That even they have to be liked by some people? Hell, the heels are liked by most people. So therefore, why? Oh, never mind. This shouldn't have happened. WWE apologised, but TNA didn't need to get involved and say, oh, our guys are never going to act that way. Because if you say that, it makes you out to be, stupid. Because if you say that your performers will never act out like their characters, it makes your product look utter shit, doesn't it? And this story should never have happened. Taking kids to shows is fine. In fact, people I know have taken their kids to shows and they love it when a bad guy rips up their sign because they understand it's part of the fucking show. They don't take it to heart. And those people anyone who ever thinks of doing the exact same thing here is stupid. Because I bet this woman only did it because she wanted to get free stuff out of WWE. How much do you want to bet? She won Shark Tank, but that's nothing. You think, oh, WWE gets me enough mainstream coverage, I'll do that. It's fucking stupid. Ugh. Honestly. And the minute I told Largest85 about this, he blew up. He blew up in a barrage of swear words over a personal message. But honestly, he got that pissed off. Because it's another reason to claim kids don't deserve to be at WWE shows, or any wrestling show for that matter. Hell, a 14-year-old went to the 16-plus Progress shows, and to be honest, we didn't really give a shit, so it all works out either way. Speaking of Hulk Hogan, however, and okay, this story has obviously gotten out, if you haven't heard, that a sex tape featuring him and some woman was released this week. And to be honest, it's a big story because even my classmates on my digital media course knew about this. It turns out that it was apparently the ex-wife of radio DJ and former TNA creative worker Bubba the Love Sponge doing her stuff with the legend of Hulkamania. Hogan has now filed a police report to track down who posted it online. TMZ, though, has this to say. It reported that at the end of the tape, Bubba the Love Sponge himself could be heard stating to his then wife, if we ever did want to retire, all we'd have to do is use this footage. And of course she came back saying, you wouldn't do that, would you? Bubba came back and said, wow, no, I wouldn't. We'd be dead if we did that. Hogan did mention that him and Bubba are still good friends, and he was sure that he wasn't the culprit. Now, to be honest, Hulk Hogan's been through a lot of shit the last couple of years, and I want to sympathise, but in a way, I keep thinking that it was probably Bubba the Love Sponge or some other person who thought, I can make a bit of money out of that, just like Bubba said in the video. It's just the fact that Hogan's been through a lot. The reason he's been through so much with his son in the accident with that guy in the car, with his wife divorcing from him in a massive legal settlement, with his daughter going to a shit music career and now in TNA itself, which went nowhere. You then look at his wife now being done for a DUI and the mugshot looks absolute crap. You would think that the revolving door of Hulk Hogan bullshit would end. It doesn't. It just keeps on spinning. Because the guy, I think in a way, I wouldn't be surprised if Hogan released this himself through one of his affiliates or told a guy to release it online because he wants to unveil the truth. Then he bags the guy and says, look, I'm not in the wrong here. This is one thing that other people are trying to do to besmirch my name. I'm Hulk Hogan. I'm the biggest wrestling legend there is. Therefore, you should not do anything. And it really fucking annoys me to think that Hulk saying, Bubba didn't do it and he's going to still be good friends with him. In my opinion, Bubba probably did do it for the hell of it, because honestly, when has he ever been relevant? He was in TNA for what, 2 or 3 weeks, and he got fired. To be honest with you, the guy needs a culture break. He therefore will get it through this, honestly. I want to see where this goes, because it'll just be very interesting to see if Hulk Hogan wins getting a guy arrested for this, It'll be really interesting to see it. It really, really will. Oh, God. Anyway, on to other news now, which is not related to Hulk Hogan or anyone like that. In what should be some good news for Attitude Era nutjobs out there, WWEDVDnews.com has exclusively revealed that the WWE and the World Wildlife Fund have, after 10 years plus of legal wrangling, been able to come to terms with the permissive use of the Attitude Era WWF scratch logo. Both parties coming to agreement means that from November, all, and I must state that, all WWE DVDs feature footage from 1998 to 2002 when the logo was being used can now have the audio and visual references of the WWF, which were previously blurred and censored, reinstated without any problems. The only thing which remains censored is the WWF logo in the ident in the bottom left corner of the screen, which will still be replaced by WWE logo for advertising purposes and to bring things up to a modern spec. This story came to light after they showed screenshots of the new Brock Lesnar DVD and fans commenting on how old Raw is War, don't know how I get that wrong, episodes being uncensored on WWEClassics.com in the same regard. And I can sense a lot of you people who will be very happy, because in America you haven't had, unless you bought the original DVDs, you had no obvious clue, and it pissed off so many people. And to be honest, it pisses me off whenever I watch the vintage collection before a pay-per-view or Raw some nights, and it's censored, especially when they showed the Invasion storyline, the 5 versus 5 winner-take-all Survivor Series match. Heyman was just saying continuously the WWF will die tonight, and it pissed me off that was censored. I can sense it's being ridiculously good for loads of people, because now we can watch the clips in the best way possible. The one question I will ask, though, is how this managed to take nearly 10 years to put together. How this took 10 years to do, I have no fucking clue. And it's really, really frustrating that this took 10 hours. Not 10 hours. 10 years. If it took 10 hours, it would have been sorted at the snap of a finger, and then we wouldn't have had to deal with 10 years of shit video releases from Titan Towers. It wouldn't have had to happen. At least it's managed to happen. At least we finally lose all the blurring that really is a massive eyesore. At least for all the Americans out there, I can sympathise, because us Europeans, we've had TAD classics for the best part of 5-6 years, so we can effectively not gloat. But then again, we've also had the WWF logo in the bottom corner of the screen uncensored too, because they're just from the same VHS rips. Anyway, it's something impressive. I might as well put that out there. It's fantastic. I think everyone else will agree. If you agree with this, comment section down below should all be good. Right, in what should be some more good news for the Attitude Era nutjobs, Linda McMahon has slipped a point behind Democrat candidate Chris Murphy in the Connecticut congressional election race. I must point out, it's not a Senate race, it's a Congress race. I didn't do American politics in my politics course, so if which one's higher up, Senate or Congress? I'm guessing Congress, because Senate is probably below that. Anyway, yeah, it's the Congress race, with Murphy leading from 46 to 45 points, according to a poll taken after their first debate on Sunday. However, it must be stated that McMahon had been leading in the polls in the usually Democrat supporting state in recent weeks. And I read a report on this that some fans on a wrestling site put up, that apparently Chris Murphy hasn't been doing a very good campaign, and that's allowed Linda McMahon to surge ahead. And I feel that in this situation, I can't really comment because I don't know any of the politics there. However, I will say one thing. To me, it doesn't really matter if Linda McMahon's elected. I don't really care, because I will keep watching no matter what happens. I mean, sure, the product may go... I mean, the fact is, when she's actually in Congress and she's focusing on her on her state, the WWE won't even be a factor. Because people can't direct things at her if she's in office from WWF or WWE clips. They can only really direct things at her in regards to policy and her helping the people in her state get their voices heard at the top of government. That's all she's going to be there for. She's not going to just randomly crush the spirit of everyone in Connecticut and then WWE follows with it. You know what I mean? That's why I find all this annoyance around the Linda McMahon bid. I've just realised that it's not going to be too much of a problem because she'll be so distracted with everything else, the media won't throw it at her. I'm just saying. That's what I mean. I'm not too fussed by it. I can sense the Astrid are nut jobs. They're going to yell at me again. Largest 85, Nintendo Fanboy 1988. I can sense you're going to do this. I can sense a lot of other people will. But if Linda McMahon gets voted into office, it won't concern me at all. It may concern you all, but I'm not being cynical and very, very critical at this point. I'm just looking at it in a real perspective. It should be fine. Right. Michael... Oh, fucking hell, I can't pronounce this guy's name for shit. Michael Bociccio. Yes! And highspots.com have launched a Kickstarter.com campaign to support an in-depth documentary on Dynamite Kid, according to 411mania.com. Bociccio flew to Manchester last month for a private signing with the former WWF Tag Team Champion, in which they recorded several hours of footage for a planned shoot interview. After the footage was shot, he decided to move forward with a complete documentary. Bociccio will now start shooting interviews for it this week. Now, I have to admit this will be very interesting because obviously when I heard the film about the Benoit tragedy was being made, obviously I was a bit disgusted because obviously knowing how personal it was to me, all that stuff, that would have meant it was going to be difficult for me to watch. For Dynamite Kid, however, this is a legitimate documentary, not a biopic as those people who were making Crossface were doing. This is going to have a lot of personal stuff in it. Knowing Dynamite Kid's fall from grace, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, going into drug issues and just going on a complete downfall, I want to be able to hear his take on it because I saw a video actually which had some clips from it, and in fact I'll try and track down the article again, put it in the comments in the description box for you guys. It'll show you what it's getting into because the guy asks some pretty in-depth questions. And I feel this will be very interesting to watch if it ever does come to fruition. Because Dynamite Kid's fall from grace is one I know about, but I don't honestly know too much of. And I think, as a British guy and a British wrestling fan, this would probably be essential watching. Because I think they may have some archive interview from British Bulldog to maybe solidify things. Because I want to hear if I ever had the chance of hearing his take on it, that would be very interesting. Last week, of course, or this past week, Brian Gurewitz, or Brian Gurewitz, as I accidentally pronounce his name as, was removed as the position of Raw head writer this past week, as we all know. However, here's something I found out the other day. He's being kept on as a consultant in WWE. Do you know why? Because he writes the material for The Rock. Rock and Gurewitz are good friends, and Gurewitz was the only person who kept in contact with The Rock when he left the WWE back in 2002, 2003, 2004. WWE wants to keep him around in order to make sure the relationship with The Rock isn't damaged. And I have to feel... And I read a report on Gurewitz on pwtorch.com from a creative writer who states that he can write good comedy and he can write good promos, but he could never actually write a complete story. And that's the reason why Raw had a lot of really small, couple of month-long stories from 2002 to now, roughly. It's very poorly written. And I honestly, the fact is, if he's the guy writing those Rock promos, I want to hear more, because the one he did for Rock in before Elimination Chamber 2011, when he returned, any of them, in fact, you can sense they were written well, and he fucking well does comedy well, if you think about it. I mean, I always thought Rock wrote his own stuff. In all fairness, though, if Gurewitz does this stuff, I don't mind it. It shouldn't really damage the reputation of The Rock. Reputation with The Rock, I should say, yeah. And effectively, I feel, because Gurewitz, well, seriously, it's an old thing. If he's being kept around, that shouldn't do anything. If Gurewitz was fired completely, then we'd have issues. Then Rock may have a thinking of saying, whoa, what am I going to do? This is fucking stupid. Am I supposed to work with a guy without a guy I trust doing my stuff for me? How am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? It happens, folks. It happens. WWE Hall of Famer Sonya has been arrested for the 4th time in as many weeks, or 5th time actually, I misread that wrong somehow, this past Monday. The first ever WWE Diva has been charged with 3rd-degree burglary and 3 counts of violating a protective order, as well as being charged with $100,000 bail. Many wrestling personalities have been reaching out to her in recent weeks, as she's been battling alcohol problems for the last year, and even been in WWE rehab twice, but nothing seems to work. And in all fairness, I've got to feel sorry for Sonya here, because she obviously accepted the Hall of Fame induction a couple of years ago. She looked in good shape, and she was still ready to do things. She goes all over. She's apparently, though, the alcohol has been getting to her. The obvious issues she's had have meant many promoters have had not much time to trust her to be on shows on time and do the work provided. And I don't know why, but I just keep feeling this is the female equivalent of a Scott Hall, because, okay, Scott Hall was in hospital and he was almost dead at one point, but Sonny is going down one of those famous downward spirals. A downward spiral a la Matt Hardy, a la Tyson Tomko, a la Ultimate Warrior before he realised he could technically market his name and make himself a lot of money. You see, I think now because drugs are so widely clamped down on in wrestling, alcohol is the next big muse, and it's really hard to escape from. I think anyone who does drink, I mean, obviously I can't vouch for it, but anyone else who I know who can will vouch for it, that it's a very hard thing to kick. And knowing her and Sonny a hard time getting work, she's frustrated with how things are going, it's caused her to have these major problems, and I hope she recovers from it. I really do. I really hope she manages to fight through and just manage to work her way back, because it's not nice to see a wrestler go on a downward spiral like this. Even if it is a female performer, it's still not a nice thing to see. I don't want to have to end up hearing more stories about it, because I've heard enough of it this past week enough. But it happens, it happens. In addition to being ECW's mastermind, SmackDown's 2002 savior, Brock Lesnar's handler, and CM Punk's guidance counselor, Paul Heyman is also the creative writer for WWE 13's Universe Mode, as revealed by THQ this week. Heyman also mentioned in an interview with ESPN that all that was the Attitude Era stemmed from ECW ideas, stating, all the writers from that time mentioned that they watched ECW, noted down what they saw, and went to McMahon with them, making McMahon a billionaire based on the attitude that ECW had. Backing this up by saying that while McMahon denies being a Paul Heyman guy, he really should be one out of principle. Now, I love the fact that Heyman has actually stated this, because I've heard a lot of people say, ECW would be this. If ECW was what the Attitude Era was, WWF would not have made it if it wasn't for this. Hell, when Bischoff says that NWO was Attitude before ECW actually ended up getting whiffed to it. The fact is, if you really think about it, I've heard it from loads of people. It's good to see Heyman actually say it, because I really think that a lot of things in this world are stolen ideas, and to be honest, most gimmicks are stolen. In fact, actually, speaking of this, I saw a video that, I can't remember the site did it. I'll put it in the description because I favorited it. I'll put it in the description. It's an interview first with Bret Hart, and then an interview with Lanny Poffo, Randy Savage's brother, who basically said to Damien, everyone was saying to him, Damien Sandow has stolen your gimmick of the Genius. Are you going to do anything about it? And he actually went down to the show, told Sandow, because Sandow asked if it's okay stealing your gimmick, as well as what the fans were saying. And Poffo basically said to him, look, I stole the gimmick myself, so you can steal it, you can use it, it's all good. And I feel, in this world, it's very hard to find an original creative idea. It is a really hard way to find an original creative idea in wrestling, because most of TNA's storylines, WWE's storylines, are all recycled. There's no... What do you think? There's no actual creative passion to make something new. There's no flair for something different. I'm really disgusted, because I would have thought there would be something new. I really would think there'd be something new, I really thought there'd be something different. But no, there isn't. There's just same old, and I'm a bit disappointed by that, in all fairness. Because you'd expect it in the wrestling world, you'd need to have somebody giving you something fresh, otherwise you wouldn't make it anywhere with any top faces, or top heels for that matter. Former WWE champion Batista won his first MMA fight this past week. He won via stoppage, defeating Vince Lucero actually, after 4 minutes and 5 seconds when he mounted many punches to his head. Batista received multiple boos from the crowd when he was announced as the winner, as well as during the post-match interview. Now, I watched it, and in all fairness, Batista was on the defensive, and he didn't do a very good job at it for the majority of it. Once he found a break, he got him, and he pounced and he won. That's effectively what it was. Batista, it didn't really convince me. And I think he should just go back to WWE and continue earning a paycheck. I mean, at 43, you earn more money from WWE than you will do from any MMA fight. I mean, sure, you've got the time to practice, build up things, and just try and get better. But in my opinion, it just won't work. I really don't think it's going to work out for you, Batista. So, ta-da! It's gonna be a massive issue. Enough said. I'm saying it's up to you what you want to do. I just think, in my opinion, you're getting the treatment that Lesnar and Lashley both got, where they got booed the shit out of because of WWE. The fact is, do what Lesnar did. If you prove you can go, keep on going. People will learn and say, "Oh, I shouldn't have doubted this guy." In all fairness, though, if you do well, I'll be fine with that. Speaking of MMA, though, this story is quite interesting. UFC owner Dana White recently had an interview with StarTribune.com about many things. But the question of interest is whether he believed Brock Lesnar would ever return. White stated that Lesnar was the one who chose to retire and go to WWE. However, if he wanted to come back, he would book him instantly, knowing that he is a draw. Now, fact is, in the same Paul Heyman interview that I mentioned earlier, he stated that him and Brock were looking back at old pictures and wondering, wow, we can't believe that we're actually back here, because they never expected it. And they're loving it at the minute. They're having a lot of fun back in WWE. And I think with UFC, I think they take themselves way too seriously for their own good. And I feel, okay, Lesnar was a big, massive draw for them. He's also a massive draw for WWE. So I wouldn't mind really where he is. But I think, just in terms of everything in the history he's had, he's better in WWE by my standards. But I wouldn't mind it. Again, it's up to him if he wants to do something. If Lesnar wants to go back, he's fine. But the fact is, I think WWE, he's a bit more free to be able to do things, and he will be less likely to get injured as well. So I think WWE will probably be the best thing for him. In my opinion, however, you guys can take it any way you want. WWE wrestler Tensai has been mocked in recent addition to his WWE profile page. It read, and I quote, "Over the following months since his debut, Tensai quickly went from intimidating behemoth to overhyped disappointment." This quote has now been removed, and Tensai has been portrayed in a more positive light. I wonder which worker did this. I wonder who said, "Yeah, I hate what's happened to Tensai. We booked him as something brilliant, and now he's just flopped. Why don't we just put that on his page and see what happens?" I think that guy may have realised, shit, we're not supposed to do that. But in my opinion, though, it's true. Tensai was booked as being this massive heel who went around destroying people, and nothing happened because the fans knew he was Albert, and they did not stop. And I think if they actually really put him back as A-Train, maybe some people popped. Maybe some people would have given a shit. But no, they had to go for a new gimmick, because every time a wrestler comes back, you got to give him a new gimmick, apparently. That's how things go, but in my opinion, that isn't the case. If the guy has name value, if the guy has a gimmick people know, I wouldn't get rid of it. I never would. So, the fact they did it really annoys me. In fact, Tensai could have been something a lot better in terms of being stereotypical Japanese crap. In fact, my blog on WWE's attitude to stereotypes really backs it up. ROH, Ring of Honor, have been having iPay-per-view problems for quite some time now, which, along with a boring creative direction, have caused many fans to abandon the former king of the American Indies for good. In light of the reported iPay-per-view problems, Ring of Honor have announced that their next pay-per-view, Glory by Honor 11, will have a pre-show before the pay-per-view starts to try and win back fans by giving them something extra. And the only thing they've been told is it'll last 10 to 15 minutes, but no longer. Now, I will say this. The iPay-per-view concept, I've never seen the point, because you are technically streaming media. okay, it's a bad thing, because honestly, you look at most things that are streamed online, the feeds are shit. Unless your technology is ridiculously good, in which case, I mean, like WWE streaming the pre-show onto YouTube, that's perfectly reasonable because you know they have the best equipment they can get. When it comes to a company like Ring of Honor, they never really got the grasp of it. I think they realised we have to give our fans something. Then again, they could just do something different, but the only problem is, what is that difference? Maybe they have a massive version of a Ring of Honor taping with the pay-per-view included in it, and you have to pay extra to your TV provider just to get it. It's basically a pay-per-view, but you have it on the channel itself. So you put Ring of Honor on whichever channel the Sinclair Broadcast Network puts it on, and then it can be played out, and you just have to pay a little bit extra in your bill each month. So it says like a checkbox. I see you watch our network, and also based on your watching habits, you watch Ring of Honor. Do you want the pay-per-view this month? And bam, you do that. I mean, sure, I'll mean to predict things a month in advance for your TV bill, but it would still be something pretty useful. I mean, you can still contact the provider and say, okay, can I order this pay-per-view for this channel to be happening then? I don't think the pre-show will do anything, though. I mean, WWE's pre-shows are not very fun. There isn't much anything to it. If they're just trying to copy WWE. And I said this in the last video I did. It's pointless. They shouldn't do it. End of story. And finally, a little bit of a funny story to lighten up the end of the news bulletin right when it ends. Former WWE and WCW wrestler Goldberg made a bet with injured Washington Redskins player Adam Carricker, and he won. No shit, because Goldberg used to play football, he should know what's going on. Losing the bet meant that Carricker had to dress up like the former World Heavyweight and WCW champion and pose for a photo in the locker room. Now, this is quite funny, mostly because I found out that Carricker is a massive wrestling fan, and knowing the relationship that Goldberg has with football, this is a massive thing that would have been good on any step. I feel it's just kind of funny that he took it all in good stride, he loved every minute of it, and knowing that he's out for the season, he can do anything he wants, so therefore it won't be a massive problem. And I feel that's fantastic for him. He's having a good time. Goldberg is making another person happy, even in defeat. I think that's great, because Goldberg's always been seen to be a complete arse whenever he's doing shoots, whenever he's critiquing people, whenever he's talking about possibly coming back to WWE again, you know, what kind of stuff. Goldberg has always come across as being an arse, and now I think we've realised, well, he's a nice guy, he made a bet with somebody, and the guy who lost actually turned out to be a better person because of it. You know, it works out. And guys, I'm going to end it there. This is the end of In the News, Bulletin 18, I believe. If it isn't, then I'll have to edit it some other way. Anyway, that's the end of it. I hope you've all enjoyed it. You can comment on any of the news stories you've heard here down in the comment section. What are your opinions on this? Because anyone can vouch an opinion towards anything I've put here. It should be fantastic. And also, this is another audio. What do you think? Again, comment section down there. Can you hear everything correctly? Is there any issues with this? Is there anything I need to do to make it better? I don't know. It's up to you guys what happens with these. What do you like my new little graphic which says In the News on it? I mean, I've got one for every single type of video I do, so there shouldn't be an issue with it. Also, if you haven't done so already, more audios will be coming in the news every single week. I then also have other videos, pay-per-view predictions, all that shit. Click the subscribe button up there. I know you want to, and it's all good, because I'm only 2 subscribers away from 200. If you want to be the guy who gets shouted out to on that video, on that audio, then please go ahead and click that thing. I know you would love to, because if you are watching this and you've stayed to the end to have me tell you about a subscription, then you definitely are enjoying it. Also, the rest of it, I have to remember again, is in the credits sequence, because that will be where all the contact details are, but they're still going to be down there in the description box anyway if you don't make it to the end. So my Skype, Facebooks, blog, it'll all be down there in the description box, as well as the credits sequence, so if you miss it, it'll be there. Anyway guys, I'm going to end it there. I'm getting a bit tired. I've got some paperwork to finish, got a few other things to do. Mostly surrounds playing FIFA and possibly going to Asda to buy stuff for some dinner tomorrow night. You know, all that shit. Anyway, I've been Cream Crazy. You've been people listening. This has been In the News Bulletin 18. I will see you whenever anything happens. Because honestly, if you want to hear anything from me, search Cream Crazy into Facebook. You will find my official Facebook page, and I put any ideas for videos in there. So if you haven't got that, find some other way, because there actually isn't another way I can actually do it. Even though Largest85 tried to persuade me into doing Twitter, which I'm not going to do, because I really don't want to do it any more than anyone else. Also, in a last bit of news, just quickly before I go, I missed out on the chance to go see Bret Hart in London on December the 1st. I'm very gutted. I'm really disappointed that I couldn't go to that because it sold out before I made the calculated decision to go for it. On the plus side, though, I get to see Frank Turner a day earlier than that. Here, near my uni campus. All's good. Anyway, guys, I'll see you. Hope the weekend goes well for you. And, well, I'll say it quickly. F1 and football this weekend should be awesome. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Next video will be whenever it happens. Cheers.